Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our matinee program of the Mississippi River Cities and Towns Initiative annual meeting. I'm standing here with one of our great visionary leaders, a guy who's never lacking of activity, and small town big mayor, Mayor Phil Stang of beautiful Kimmswick, Missouri. Situated behind us is the guest of honor, of course, and the reason we're all here, the beautiful Mississippi River right at the new port of Kimmswick. So this is a adaptable design port, brand new, just had 2 landings from the American Duchess with the Queen. Want to welcome everybody this evening. Before we get started, I just want to recognize our stage manager, Brant Thorington, who will go through how folks can participate and make the most out of this evening's experience. Brant?
Hello, everyone. If you have any issues, first of all, feel free to message me using the chat function. If you'd like to ask a question, please raise your hand or use the Q&A portion to ask the question. We can recognize you and answer your question for you. Any panelists, if you're not speaking, please stay on mute. And thank you all for joining us today.
Thank you, Brant. And now on to our program for this evening. And please, on us, feel free to have a beer, a glass of wine, or one of the boys. Indulge. It is a matinee conversation anyway. Mayor, you and I just had a cigar to get us in the right mood and get us started. We did that off camera, of course. So please, a little less formal than earlier this afternoon. So we have a wonderful lineup for everybody this afternoon, this evening, and you are going to hear a little bit of wind in the camera because we are right on the Mississippi River. So we will talk over that a little bit. You also might hear the wonderful cadence of the cicadas. They are out in full force. They're almost done for this evening, so they're going to go out with a bang. You may hear them in the background too. Only the most natural of settings for us along the Mississippi River. This evening, we're going to hear from some great speakers. Some of it is really wonderful things, some nice things that are coming up around outdoor recreation and tourism industry along the Mississippi River and the burgeoning renaissance that is the cruising industry on our river. We're going to be talking about that and the great plans that those industries have for our cities and our towns going into the rest of 2021 and 2022. But then we're going to have a more serious conversation. Some things that mayors really need to know about with our friends at the U.S. Coast Guard. This is a new environment that we're in now. We have a lot more people than traditionally would be visiting our cities, brought to us by these cruise lines. What do our mayors need to do in terms of making those ports secure, safe, and accessible, and equal for all? What is the Department of Homeland Security going to hold our mayors and our cities to in terms of that kind of performance? We're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about the tools and resources that are available to mayors from the Coast Guard so that you as a mayor can find out exactly what you need to do in order to bring your port up to safety standards in order to accommodate this new cruising industry that we find really just exploding on the Mississippi River, and we couldn't be happier about it, but we do need to keep folks safe and sound as we engage in that economic development activity. But before that, want to give our illustrious guest this evening and our host here in Kimmswick, Missouri, Mayor Phil Stang, a moment to talk about his new port, the design, the funding, and the efforts that went into it to make it a reality. This happened, I would say, in terms of how things normally happen on the river, relatively quickly, had a lot of support, and it is innovative, new, adaptive design. That is where we are standing right here next to the mayor, and everything behind us here is designed to flood. It's designed to be given to the river, and then the river gives it back to us. A real mutually beneficial relationship. But I'll let the mayor talk more about that and what went into all this right now. Mayor Phil Stang, thank you so much for hosting us and being with us this evening.
Thank you, Colin. And hello to everybody from the beautiful, historic river city of Kimmswick, Missouri. Just briefly, I can tell you just a tad about Keswick. As Bob Gallagher said this morning, that I can talk for a long time, and he was off, so I wasn't able to have a conversation with him. So I had to do hand signals. But tonight, I'm going to be able to talk about it. So the city of Keswick was founded in 1859, and basically it was founded on the river as a river port for steamboats. It had products like salt, lumber, strawberries, flowers, and was very successful for many years. Then in the early in the 50s, 60s, all of a sudden progress came and snuck up on Keswick, and we had a lot of roads that went by and superhighways, and progress passed us by. We are in the process and have a comprehensive plan and it's titled Back to the River Economy. And that's exactly what we're doing, and that's why the Port of Keswick came into existence. We've worked very, very hard with our partners, the Jefferson County Port Authority, Jefferson County, the state of Missouri, to accumulate enough money to be able to start this project. If I had to do it, I'd joke around and I basically have a hammer, and I'd take pennies and try to make them bigger so I could stamp out more pennies. So I need to have some very good partnerships. And so where we're standing right now is on the relatively new dock in the city of Keswick. This dock plus the access ways cost $1.3 million, and I have no money. So a miracle occurred. The entire plan for this port to include nature center, to include eventually an amphitheater and so on.
Mayor, can you speak up a little?
I haven't stopped yet. And,
one second, Mayor. I'm sorry, what, Brant?
Can you speak up a little? It's a little hard for people to hear you.
all right. Want me to speak up? I can speak up.
Thank you.
So this port is part of our back to the river approach to life. We built this port. In the background, you'll see the dead men. One of those dead men will hold the biggest boat on this river. And for Shelley, that's the American Queen. So it is adaptable. Any of the cruise lines can land here. We have done quite a good job in setting this up initially as a park to go with our port. And what I would also say to all of you at this point is that all the mayors, I would suggest that you spend quite a bit of time talking to your corporate advisory board people. It was a very important part of what we did here. Our work with the American Queen Steamboat Company and so on has been very fruitful for us. Initially, we had other boats in mind. They haven't come to fruition yet, but we'll get there. And I would strongly suggest that you spend a lot of time talking to your counterparts. Now, I realize that's fairly difficult to do on a Zoom call, but when we get back together in St. Louis, I have every reason to believe that we'll be able to spend some time together to develop the kinds of relationships we need to make MRCTI and CAB very successful partners in the future. And a special thanks to a little aside to Jim Strickland, the mayor of Memphis, who inadvertently had something to do with this by putting us all together with some bourbon, which really helps the relationship between MRCTI mayors and all of our CAB people. So, anyway, that having been said, I'd like to introduce one of our partners, Shelley Hartfield from the American Queen.
Yep, and Shelley will be part of our, that's not Shelley, of course, but Shelley will be part of our panel of cruise line folks that are going to be speaking in a moment. I did have one question for you, though, Mayor, and in funding this and putting that funding together, what would you say was the most critical component that you were able to put together here at home for that?
I think the critical component was the why. This is in Jefferson County and this part of Missouri. This is really one of the only accessible points to the river for recreational applications and so on. And so by talking about our back to the river philosophy, you have to have a good plan. And our plan is this is the entry point to not only Kimmswick, but Jefferson County and Eastern Missouri. And once we start talking about that and the benefits that are accrue to that, and ultimately, I'm sure we'll hear from our partners in the cruise line business. This brings people from all over the world to the state of Missouri, to any of your cities that develop this kind of an approach. And it really talks to the fact that the Mississippi River is the great highway of the United States, entry point for people from other countries.
So here at home, you really needed to have the support of your state,
Absolutely.
your county,
Absolutely.
and your Port Authority.
You got it.
And they all worked with you to assemble the channels of funding that were necessary.
Absolutely. My total economic contribution to this is about 5 cents, as Lucy would say. And once you talk to Charlie Brown,
Yeah,
I didn't have any money.
right.
For people, it's a vision. It's an issue of a vision.
Mhm.
And then, as one of my heroes said one time to me, Ambassador Young, he said, if you have the vision and you have the passion, the money will come. And I believed him, and it did.
And it did. Wow, fantastic. So, and of course, on the other end of that, sort of the engine that made all this go was the relationship with the company itself, brokered by MRCTI and the Corporate Advisory Board. On the other end of things.
Exactly.
Okay, fantastic. So that's real money for value and a real economic development opportunity here on the Mississippi River in Kimmswick that is replicable in other cities up and down the Mississippi. As the cruising industry expands, they got to have places to go. They have to have places for their boats to take people. They're all adding boats just to keep up with demand. You'll hear soon that the industry, it doesn't take much for them to get fully subscribed. And even this is post-pandemic world, which speaks good things about where we're headed. Anything else any other advice that you give mayors that are looking to capitalize on opportunities like this?
Well, after we've been inundated by flooding, and we've all suffered through the COVID scenarios, I would just say keep the faith, because someday we're coming out of all this, and this is one of the ways to do it.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking of partners and creating multiple levels of value, there is a whole federal component here. Beyond the private sector or in partnership with, there are federal partners and agencies that can bring additional value for this that really helps build these partnerships. And a partner of ours that's been with us for a number of years now, since I would say the beginnings of MRCTI, is the Department of Interior and specifically the U.S. Geological Survey. Partners like Scott Morlock and that team at USGS have really worked hard to bring valuable science to everything that we're doing, and partnered with the private sector as well to do it. And it's amazing to have all of these partners together at the table, because you just have a whole other level of capacity and capability. Case in point is the mobile super gauges that are on American Queen steam, the American Queen boat right now, one of the boats, soon to be more than one boat, I believe, that actually helps measure the water quality in this resource out here behind me. And because we're drinking the water, we're using it for manufacturing, and of course, we're using it for outdoor recreation and tourism. and it's being used for agriculture. So top big three economies are being powered by the water in that river. How do we keep it safe? How do we keep it clean? How do we improve on it? Not only what we're taking out, but what we're putting back in. I'd like to introduce David Applegate, Dr. David Applegate. He's the acting director of USGS. He has joined us to just give us some overarching remarks on where our partnership stands with USGS vis-a-vis the cruising industry in particular, and where we might be going from here forward. Dr. Applegate, thank you so much for joining us, and please take it away.
All right. Well, hey, thank you so much. And also a big thank you to Mayor Stang as well. So it is an absolute pleasure to be with you here today and provide part of the welcome for this session. The USGS, the U.S. Geological Survey, and as you said, we're part of the Department of the Interior. We're proud to be a partner with the MRCTI. And the work that you're doing together as mayors to help protect and restore the Mississippi River and support sustainable economies is making a real difference, and we're excited to be a part of it. Now, I grew up on the shores of the slightly smaller Conococheague Creek in south central Pennsylvania, but I will never forget the first time I crossed the Mississippi River, and that was on the old Cape Girardeau Bridge, and it was on a bicycle. Which is a good way to experience both the scale of the river as well as the hospitality of those who live along its banks. So I've always been appreciative of that. For the past nearly 8 months, I've had the honor to serve as the acting director of the USGS while we await the nomination and ultimately confirmation by the Senate of an appointed director. But in my day job, I'm responsible for our hazards mission. And for geologic hazards like earthquakes, which are no strangers to the Mississippi River Valley, thanks to the New Madrid seismic zone, we have the primary federal responsibility for providing assessments and alerts for situational awareness. But for other hazards like floods, I like to say that we're the eyes and ears for NOAA, with our monitoring capabilities and expertise supporting their warning responsibilities. And those same capabilities support a wide range of stakeholders. We want our science to be put to use by communities like yours. Now, to further that goal, in 2018, the USGS signed a memorandum of common purpose with the MRCTI, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and the Maritime Administration to work on hydrologic, ecologic, and water quality science and interpretive studies to better understand the resources of the Mississippi River Basin. One of the outcomes of this collaboration was the development of the MRCTI Disaster Prediction and Assessment Portal, which is linked right from the MRCTI homepage. It started out in 2019 as a one-stop location for mayors to access data and imagery related to flood events, stream gauge flood stage data, and NOAA forecast and warning information. This year, the USGS Geospatial team collaborated with the University of Georgia to add a new tab to the portal in support of the Mississippi River Plastic Pollution Initiative, providing links to the initiative as well as the debris tracker and associated data. Another outcome of our collaboration is a new partnership with the Environmental Sustainability Rotary Action Group. The USGS and Rotary are in the process of finalizing an agreement for the USGS to provide relevant science and data, and for the Environmental Sustainability Rotary Action Group to collaborate on citizen science projects focused on water quality or other issues that are important both in the US as well as internationally to protect, sustain, and restore watersheds and the ecosystems they support. Now, the successful launch of the first USGS mobile super gauge mounted on the American Queen riverboat in 2019 was a great partnership with the American Queen Steamboat Company and is yet another outcome of our agreement with MRCTI. As the vessel traversed the Mississippi River, critical water quality data were collected and posted in real time on the MRCTI portal. Now, over the past year and a half, COVID-19 has negatively impacted all of us and, of course, has severely impacted the tourism industry, and that included the riverboat companies, and that included the mobile super gauge effort. But we're working to get the super gauge project back on track so that city officials and water decision makers have access to high-quality, real-time data from these vessel-mounted state-of-the-art instruments. Getting this technology back on the river will allow for important water quality data to be collected along some large stretches of our waterways that will, when meshed with our already established USGS fixed monitoring stations, help us better understand the state of water quality within the Mississippi River Basin. Our USGS Mid-Continent region and our Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana Water Science Center will continue to work with MRCTI and other partners on sustaining and growing the mobile super gauge effort. Now, I want to mention one other potential opportunity for engagement between the USGS and Mississippi River partners and stakeholders. In report language that accompanied the House version of our annual spending bill, it calls on the USGS to host a Mississippi River Science Forum that would bring together federal, state, local, and tribal government, academia, and other interested stakeholders to share current science, identify data gaps, prioritize next steps, and identify resources needed to help improve water quality, restore habitat and natural systems, improve navigation, eliminate aquatic invasive species, and build local resilience to natural disasters. I think this is a great idea, and our regions and are collaborating with our water and ecosystem mission area to deliver a plan for such a forum. So more to come on that. Going forward, the USGS will continue to conduct a wide range of science to help address the issues that your communities and our other stakeholders are facing. Our ability to integrate our water resources, ecosystems, natural hazards, energy and minerals, and other geoscience expertise to address floods and other hazards, ecosystem and community resilience, and the availability of clean water will support multiple uses along the mighty Mississippi. Thank you very much for the opportunity to welcome you here today. I look forward to continuing our partnership with the MRCTI and providing science to support a healthy, vibrant, and resilient Mississippi River Basin. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Doctor. Before you go, if you could stick around for a minute, we do have a couple of questions, if that's okay. We definitely wanted to say thank you for all of the partnership that we've had with the USGS, and you couldn't have said it better. You guys are the folks feeding the data to the National Weather Service and to NOAA that allows us to get all of that prediction and forecasting out to all our mayors. We've just been through some rough times in the southern Louisiana section of our cohort, as you know, with Hurricane Ida, and now a torrential rain event that looks like it may stall out over there. So how can we as mayors help you with that activity and help make that even more reliable and expansive and in real time? Because the data you guys collect and what you present, and I have to say you have a great working relationship with NOAA. You give NOAA the data, and then NOAA has put together for us several times over. I lost count of how many times this happened during 2019. Tailored forecasts for sections of the Mississippi River that's just for our mayors, and it's been spectacular. It's helped save lives, it's helped save property, and it's because of you guys and NOAA working together. So how can we help you make that even better?
No, thanks for that question. And I mean, you put it so well. I mean, this is all about getting our information into a form that is going to be most useful, being able to work directly with the emergency managers at all levels of government. So, I mean, we're so dependent on those relationships, whether it's for the collection itself, when we're going out and, whether we're deploying sensors or doing high water marks or any of these other elements where, again, we're trying to make sure that key data is available to you. Or then in providing that really critical situational awareness. We need to have this dialogue to be able to understand what is it that you truly need and what is it then we can deliver, both through our federal partners with NOAA, with the Army Corps, and with others, as well as with our state and county and local partners. That's just so important to us. Again, we want our science used. So thanks so much.
Yeah, absolutely. We had a great conversation this morning, Doctor, with a new partner of ours, Worldwide Technologies. Worldwide Technologies is headquartered here in St. Louis, the St. Louis region, but they have over 9,000 employees worldwide, And we talked to them about your portal, the disaster assessment and prediction portal that you guys put together for us. And they had some ideas on how we could expand it, how we could make it more engaging, make it more useful to our mayors. So is that something we could onboard with you too? Perhaps some private sector partners that are interested in adding to it?
Absolutely. The private sector has a huge role to play here. And, as demonstrated by the wonderful partnership that we've had with the mobile super gauges. I mean, it's all about, having this publicly available information, but then a lot of the dissemination, a lot of that that final mile, right? That's all about engagements with the private sector. So absolutely, so many different partnership opportunities here, and we're really, again, we're just so grateful to MRCTI for being a great focal point for these partnerships.
Is the forum that you talked about hosting soon? Are these some conversations that would be appropriate for that forum?
Very much so, and I think the goal of that is to bring together all of the different sectors, and so we can kind of wrestle together with what are the top priorities, what are the key needs, and then what are the kinds of capabilities that can be brought to bear.
And I hope you enjoyed. Mayor Stang cued the cruising vessel to come up the river right behind us, right as you were finishing up. They couldn't have timed it better. So
nice touch.
Yeah, we thought that would be a great capstone to to your address. We had a barge earlier, but the guy got the time mixed up and he was early. So sorry. Well, we're going to cue some deer in a little while. But thank you so much, Doctor. I do want to open it up to anybody else that may have other questions, mayors or otherwise, for Dr. Applegate, before we move into our cruising panel.
We did have a question from Nate earlier. I don't know if he's still available to ask the question. Nate? I think he lowered his hand. I think we are good on questions, Colin.
Okay, great. Well, thank you again, Doctor. And we look forward to expanding our relationship with USGS into the future. I know there's still a lot we can be doing, and we can spread out more super gauges, and we can always get more science on the ground. I would point out that USGS does have the largest scientific portfolio of any federal agency on the Mississippi River, which is very impressive. So much infrastructure already in place for us to take advantage of and use. And that's what this partnership is all about. So now I think we're going to go into our panel represented by the cruise industry. We have all three major companies represented tonight. Hopefully soon we'll be able to talk to them in person like we have been in Washington and up and down the river. Definitely miss you guys, but we are even more pleased that your boats are coming to town, like the one that just went by for us. I'm going to let Mayor Stang introduce each one in turn, and then I have some congratulatory offerings for each one as well after his introduction that I've been asked to pass along. So, Mayor?
Absolutely. And now I'll try to make sure I get the schedule right. Now that I gave Shelley a heart attack by introducing her before, but I'd like to take the opportunity to introduce Shelley Hartfield from the American Queen.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. And thank you, Shelley. Big, huge thanks from all of us to American Queen, as well as from Mayor Cantrell and Mayor Constant of Gretna, and Mayor Tim of Harahan, for all of your support of our communities that were hit by Hurricane Ida. American Queen was one of the first corporate advisory board members to step up and help us send critical aid and materials to those cities right after the hurricane. Hope we don't have to do it again, but it's great to know that these partners are there. Also, Shelley is the current chair of our corporate advisory board.
Thank you very much, Mayor Stang, and thank you, Colin, for that. We're always happy to support our communities. That's why we exist here. So, so thank you very much for that. I'm going to share my screen now. Give me just a moment. Okay, and I take it that we're seeing this, I hope. So,
Yeah.
all right. Well, it's great to see beautiful Kemswick in the background there. I wish I was there with you all this time. And even after a difficult 2020, there are many positive events and partnerships to be celebrated in 2021 and beyond. This year, we added 3 new ports to our itineraries on the Mississippi River. We had been visiting the same port since 2012 and decided it was time to take guests to new, exciting ports by creating additional partnerships. We were pleased to add Terrain Landing near Cleveland, Mississippi to our schedule in March, and then Kemswick, Missouri in July. Both have turned out to be true gems with warm, welcoming people and exciting short excursions. And next month, we are proud to begin a full program in Point Capee Parish, New Roads, Louisiana. After a 1-year delay, we were able to kick off the season by christening the newest paddle wheeler to cruise the Mississippi River. The event was held in the mansion in New Orleans with guest speakers such as Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser, Chef Dickie Brennan, and of course, our founder, John Wagoner, who I credit as bringing river cruising back to America when he purchased the American Queen in 2011. While the outside is as iconic as the Mississippi River itself, the inside is elegant and modern, with an 80-foot bar featuring full-length windows to stunning intimate public spaces such as the library and card rooms. I present this to you tonight to show that it was a positive symbol of resurgence from the pandemic. 2021, a year of resurgence and resilience. The pandemic hit the river cruise industry and our river communities extremely hard. The immediate impact to our communities was obvious. However, the trickle-down effect of our industry was a secondary disruption to the economies, especially smaller towns that depend on our visits. We have now returned to our communities with all of the pomp and circumstance that we experienced when we first brought river cruising back to the Mississippi River in April 2012. Guests appreciate the ability to travel safely with peace of mind, knowing the COVID protocols we have in place, which consist of mandatory COVID vaccination required for all guests, crew, and vendors, pre-boarding COVID test with a negative test result for all who cross the gangway, and mask requirements as set forth in each community, state, vendor, or establishment, and while on board our motor coaches. We must always look for a silver lining. And as our guests with an average age of 71 look to travel again, they want to remain in the US and are turning to river cruising. This is already showing a remarkable passenger increase in 2022 and 23. And with the size of the American Queen and introduction of the American Countess, we look forward to increased capacity on the river. And of course, we celebrate our new communities. While some may feel that our measures are extreme, we believe that the safety and health of our guests, crew, and communities are of the utmost importance. The CDC conditional sail order for vessels over 250 total souls aboard only require 95% vaccination. We made the decision to increase that to 100% for all of our boats, regardless of capacity, and we are proud to say that these protocols have been successful in keeping us from having COVID cases aboard our Mississippi River boats thus far. And that is after about 7 months of sailing. So we've done a fantastic job. Being realistic, we know that eventually there will be breakthrough cases. And when that happens, we have shoreside protocols in place. We have worked in advance to identify local health departments and medical facilities in each community and to have worked with each to provide our safe cruise plans and receive approvals required should we need assistance. We were fortunate to have many of our long-term crew members return as each vessel resumed service. However, just like many businesses, we are experiencing a staffing shortage. Our crews have been working extremely hard to make up for any shortage on board. They truly are a family that pulls together as needed. Now to Kemswick and the American Queen Steamboat Company partnership. As the smallest town represented here, I can tell you that the welcome may just be the biggest. Mayor Stang definitely knows how to pull things together, from a model port to a warm ceremony. And I'd like to read to you 2 quotes from our guest who visited on that first time in Kemswick. In all of my years of cruising with AQSC, stopping at many river towns, I have never experienced a nicer welcome or felt such genuine hospitality. Kemswick is now my favorite river town, and I'm looking forward to many more visits. Bill Taylor. It has been years since I have attended such an event, and I loved it. I was especially struck by the mayor's remarks that this is not an end point, but rather a launching point to move forward. Steve Brum. The quick work from Mayor Stang, the Jefferson County Port Authority, and the U.S. Coast Guard to get the facility the necessary public access status was critical in us being able to land there on schedule. The designation is not only important for the river cruise industry, but also for the justification for funds put into public landings for all community citizens to use. I'd like to take a moment to thank Mayor Stang for his tenacity and brag on the work it took for the small town of Kemswick. This partnership was born out of a conversation that started in Memphis in 2019 at the MRCTI conference and ended at the LaChance Winery in Kemswick, Missouri. I do not know who was more excited about the prospect, Mayor Stang, who would receive hundreds of new visitors to Kemswick, Neil Brettweiser, the executive director of the Jefferson County Port Authority, who had put so much time and effort into designing the port, Harold Hamby, the owner of LaChance Winery and a true visionary in every sense of the word, or me, who saw an absolute gem and opportunity for American Queen Steamboat Company to add an incredible stop to our itinerary. Mayor Stang saw to it that our first stop on July 11th was nothing short of spectacular. Now to the importance of ports and the river cruising industry. With vessels that carry the largest passenger capacity on the river, one stop of the American Queen can bring 417 passengers and 175 crew members to each community. So calculating the economic impact using CLIA estimates of $135 per passenger in each port, that amounts to $56,295 for one stop, not including crew spend. And we all know the crew gets often spends as well. As we emerge from the economic hardships over the past year and a half, tourism from riverboats can be a tremendous addition to local business income. While large cities may be able to justify individual dock areas that are specifically used for river cruise boats, most communities need a multi-use facility. The riverboats visit may be 20 times a year. So the public ramp or landing area can be used by others for recreation the other 345 days a year. These landings and docks not only bring substantial impact to the communities, but also a rekindled love of the river that sustains us all. Due to our iconic design, we are able to land at a 30-degree angle to most boat ramps or landings and lay our stage gangway on the concrete. We do not require dock structures and actually prefer to have a more authentic, natural infrastructure. This also alleviates the need for maintenance or structures that could hold river debris and cause issues during flood events. Pictured to the left is the American Duchess at Riverside Park in La Crosse, Wisconsin, and the American Countess's first stop in Red Wing, Minnesota. We often use La Crosse and Red Wing as models to show ideal landing areas due to the beautiful park setting, multi-use facility, ease of docking, and motor coach access. Our most important requirement are space to land a vessel as large as the American Queen, tie-off points, a nearby water source, motor coach access, and of course, a safe walkway for our guests. We realize that structures can be beneficial and may even be required for some vessel designs. However, green infrastructure presents opportunities for flood mitigation and sustainability, creates less need for maintenance, and promotes the natural beauty of the landscape. Parks and riverboat visits should be enjoyed by the entire community, and landings such as those pictured here provide that opportunity. It is important to note that there are still security protocols in place at these multi-use facilities. Local law enforcement conducts a security sweep of the area just prior to the boat's arrival and is on call should we need them. Community involvement is the heart of American Queen Steamboat Company. We have a strong sense of community and have built strong relationships with the USGS for the only mobile super gauges on the river, and Rotary International for an upcoming community service cruise to create ways to keep our rivers clean for generations to come. We have been proud to support MRCTI in donating PPE in 2020 to first responders during the pandemic and responding quickly to provide generators and water for Hurricane Ida relief. We will continue to be strong advocates for community resilience during times of hardship. We welcome ideas on how to work on comprehensive projects that benefit either a few communities or the health of the entire river system itself. After all, we are one river, one community. Thank you to all of the mayors who have helped welcome us and American Cruise Lines back to the river this year. Mayor Stang and Colin, I will turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Shelley. Just been a tremendous partnership, and it's I can say that not only has the economic partnership with American Queen created jobs and new economies for our cities, and apparently also a new port for some of our cities, but the disaster assistance and aid that American Queen has provided has saved lives and really helped us respond any better. So talk about making a difference on both fronts. So thank you so much, Madam Chair of our Corporate Advisory Board, for being with us and everything that you do for Middle America. We're now going to move on to our second cruising industry representative, American Cruise Line, represented by one of our illustrious leaders from MRCTI, co-chair, former co-chair, Mayor Stang.
Absolutely. I'd like to take the opportunity to introduce my friend, Frank Clips, who chickened out and didn't run again, but thank God he found a good place to hang out. And I'd also like to thank Frank for the background. We had the American Melody go by, and thanks for sending that. And so, Frank Clips.
Yep, and thank you, Mayor Klipsch, for also all of your contribution of PPE and disaster assistance. Because of you, American Cruise Line's sponsorship of that activity, membership on our corporate advisory board has also made a difference for us. And we look forward to expanding that partnership into the future. We can't wait to hear about all the exciting things American Cruise Lines is doing going into 2022. So Mayor Klipsch.
Well, thank you, Mayor Stang and Colin and all of my, I see a number of friends on the viewers. Hi, Jim. I see Jim Strickland over there and others. I just want to share my screen also, if I may, and let's get that started. Here we go, I think. And share. There we go. And I'll go from the beginning. That always is good. It's great to see talk about collaboration. Many of the COVID activities that you heard from Shelley, we actually worked together to come up with a combined and a shared COVID protocols. So we have the same ones in place. We're being very cautious and making sure that we're good visitors in the community, and also that the communities are also very sensitive to be good safety partners with us as well. So we're delighted to have that. And thanks, Shelley, for the work that you're doing. And we're excited about all the things that we're doing as well. We are the largest cruise line in the country, river cruising company with 14 ships. So in addition to the impact that's happening on the Mississippi River, we're in Northeast, Northwest, on the Cumberland and the Ohio, as well as the whole Mississippi and Alaska, from Florida to Alaska. So it is exciting to receive the daily sailing instructions and see all that activity happening in so many communities across the country. We have currently 4 ships on the Mississippi now, and we have a very aggressive building schedule. We plan on adding a new boat a year for the next 5 years. So we're going to be adding we'll have a total of 9 boats. So you can see we are very excited about new and innovative things happening, and a lot of construction and investments. I appreciate we dock in Red Wing as well, and a number of the other cities. And it's a beautiful place to land. That park is wonderful. But a lot of the other facilities, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, that we're actually investing in the communities, creating work and activity in those communities, as well as more opportunities for more ships to be able to land. Again, we talked a little bit about the company and what we've done, and we're excited about that. I'm excited to be working with a great company. We came roaring back in 21. We have all of our boats operational, all of them with following the proper COVID procedures, but we're very excited about all 14 ships running in 30 states. And that's a pretty great opportunity for us. And operating since, again, we've been operating since 2000. So this is going to be our 10th, we're going into our 10th year on the Mississippi River, celebrating that next year. We're 100% American company, and we focus on cultural enhancement, as we talked about in many of those communities. We find that if we get into a community, and I've had the pleasure of being in all of our port cities a number of times, and when you sit down and talk to the folks, they're proud of their communities and they share wonderful and exciting things, and we like to make those available to our guests as well. You can see on the bottom of that slide, we not only have the traditional paddle wheeler, but we have a new modern riverboat. We're the first in the United States to bring that modern riverboat to the United States and North America. It is very exciting. There are luxury hotels on the water and multi-story atriums that are just beautiful. So as we move forward, we have a low impact style. We have about 200 people, and I appreciate some of the large ships that Shelley was mentioning, but in our case, again, with 4 boats on the river and moving towards 6, we'll be in and out of ports a number of times. We have a boat, I'm in Davenport, Iowa right now. We have a boat here today. We're going to have another one here in the next couple of days, different boats. So in many cases, with our 200 passengers, we may be in a city 2 or 3 times. So we're bringing in many cases 400 to 600 people and more in multiple stops. And that creates a lot of excitement in the different communities as well. We focus on local business and direct relationships. And again, I've had the opportunity of meeting with the excursion folks, the city officials. That's one of the great things of this job. I get to go and meet the different mayors, and I've gotten to see most of them. And I'm excited to see Jim again when I get down there the next time in Memphis. But I think that's excited, and we're going to triple our size in the next 6 years. So we're really bullish on what's happening, and we're excited about the future and what's happening. And again, I mentioned our 10th year anniversary. So we're reaching out to all of our community partners to see what are some unique things that we can do in those communities to celebrate 10 years. And we're excited about that, and that's important. And I think that's an important part of what American Cruise Lines is all about, coming into a community with a large group of people, but a manageable group of people that can in fact get intimately involved with that community. And we're excited about that and the opportunities we have for the future. You know, we're growing rapidly. And, you know, as I mentioned about the 4 ships that we have now and moving up to 6 ships, I think that's pretty exciting. And in addition to that, the economic impact, the 4 ships will have about 20,000 tourists. With the 9 ships, we're looking at going to 66,000 tourists and visitors into the communities. And that's pretty exciting. We really are the modern riverboat revolution. You can see this boat. It's pretty exciting. It is unbelievable. And people that get on it, and we've had a few of the mayors had a chance to be on our new boats. The American Melody will be here in town. That's our newest boat. Will be here in town on Sunday. And all the way up its river from New Orleans all the way up to Red Wing in Minneapolis. It's pretty darn exciting. And the American Symphony is right behind it with another boat coming that we'll have on the river next year. I think we talk about a 4-story in these boats. You can see that 4-story glass atrium, a few of the pictures that are there. It is truly breathtaking to be on those ships. And the America, in addition, this traditional riverboat is going to be here, is here today, actually, in Davenport. So we're having different boats throughout the week. And that brings a lot of excitement. I hear a lot of people in this community, but I've been in a number of the other communities saying, it's great. We see boats here throughout the week coming and going up and down the river. And that's what it's all about, bringing a lot of people, new ships, and our traditional riverboats as well, which is pretty exciting. I also think the opportunity, the turnaround cities, the economic impact is pretty dramatic. We're talking in 2021, having an over a $45 million impact, economic impact. In 2026, it'll go to 145 million. So we've made a commitment to the Mississippi River. We're investing. This is a very well run, and I hope Charlie and Paul are on so they can hear me say this, but this is a very well run company, family owned business that not only made it through COVID, but roared back in 2021 and beyond, stayed very aggressive, building new ships. The company owns its own shipyard. And I think that's extremely important to know. We can control the timing of getting these ships on the river. And it's so much construction and economic impact as we build docks in different communities. That's also very exciting. So think about the impact of our turnaround cities going up to over $145 million, which is pretty amazing, actually. And then on our ports of call, we additionally still, those are the ones where we stop and visit, like in many of the stops that we make. But there's still city and government, tourism, resources, food and alcohol purchases, the docking fees, Main Street associations, people get in. And I think for the community side, we hear a lot of people that come and they fall in love with the community and want to come back, maybe live there, but even more importantly, maybe come and make an investment there. And that's an important part of what we do, bringing people in and an intimate experience, meeting the people in the community. And again, I'm proud to be part of this company because I can see firsthand the impact. I saw it as when I was mayor, and now as an example, what this has done. Example, Davenport has redefined its riverfront, is adding a third docking area, and it's going to be exciting. But as I've gone along, this is in all the communities. So that's not only in causing development to happen, but investments in those communities, creating parks and docking areas that are really making a difference. And the local stops are still $4 million a year. So that's pretty crazy as you think about that in those local communities, as we talked about some of the smaller communities that we impact and visit. In addition to that, the infrastructure is extremely important. We're building new port developments, public-private partnerships that are involved, port projects that create consistent cruise shipping operations. Because if we're going to build all these boats, we're going to be in more communities and make sure we have an opportunity to stop in the ones that we're at as well, and make sure all the boats can get there. All the companies can be represented. We want to make sure that we're inclusive as in what we do. But the docking agreements generate fees, and that's extremely important as well. And the new developments. We have projects in many of the people with Mayor Flaggs in Vicksburg, Kenny Havard in the parish in St. Francisville, Dan Gibson in Natchez, Mayor Hark in Hannibal, Mayor Moorfield in Fort Madison, new David Goins is a new mayor in Alton, Buzz Craft in Vidalia, and we're working with Jim in Memphis about the possibility of expanding docking facilities there. That's just a few. There's more in the works because we realize it's important that we not only come in and out of the community, but we become a part of it and invest in those communities as well. Our job here, we think, is to raise awareness, for the region and for each port of call. And I think we're doing a great job of that. And the more boats with more people stopping more often does that. And we're excited about that. You see in the picture on the screen right now, one of our new state-of-the-art modern design riverboats, but they still go to all the communities and experience all those exciting things that happen in all those individual communities. So we're excited. We're very proactive. We're growing rapidly. Our boats are full and filling. We have all the COVID procedures in place. We're safe in each individual community, but we're visiting more and more people. And I echo the comments that were made earlier. People want to be in this country and they want to cruise on the Mississippi River. And we're very bullish on that fact. And that's why we're building all these additional boats, beautiful boats, and bringing people into the community as well. So we're excited about that. And again, you can see this is just one of the decks on the new American Melody. And I want to thank all the mayors for their support. I enjoy visiting all of you and seeing all the wonderful things happening in your communities and being able to be part of that development that's happening in your communities as well. I just think of an example, I see Jim here, the Tom Lee Park projects that you're doing create another exciting opportunities for us to dock there, but also for people in your own community, because it's equal partner. It's not about what we can do for you or what you can do for us. It's what we can do for each other. So we're excited about that. Thank you for this opportunity to share some of the news, the exciting proactive news of American Cruise Lines.
Thank you, Mayor Klipsch, for that exciting update. It's so inspiring to see that you guys are adding so much activity and capacity to your business. I think all the mayors on the line are going to be excited about being part of that and working with you and the company on how they can onboard, not just literally on the boat, but onboard into their cities as well. So
I just want to say one thing, Frank. Thanks for sending that boat right off the shore here.
Yeah.
While you were talking about it, the American Melody went right by. So
We know what we're doing. We know what we're doing.
thanks for queuing that up.
Hey, I do what I can. You know what it is. You need it and I'll send you a boat. Pretty amazing boat, wasn't it, by the way?
Yeah, I know. I was expecting a model, but that's not it.
We do it right. ACL does it right. We don't just send you a model, we send you the whole boat.
All right. Enough of that. All right. See you, Frank.
See you, Phil. Thank you.
Absolutely. And now, since I have Viking blood coursing through my veins from birth, I would like to introduce Milton from Viking River Cruises.
Yep. And while you come up, Milton, thank you for joining us. Big shout out and lots of gratitude to Viking for stepping up, sending us assistance for our southern Louisiana cities, again, in the wake of Hurricane Ida. The situation in southern Louisiana, storm-wise, was we were able to sustain that. The problem, a lot of the impacts came with just not having power for so long. You're going to hear more about that tomorrow, but literally we had a transmission tower picked up and thrown into the river. And whenever you lose a transmission tower, you're probably going to lose power for a good amount of time. And that's exactly what happened to a lot of our cities. So they needed power, they needed water. So thank you to Viking as well for stepping up and helping us get them those much needed materials to our cities that were right on the front line of that. Milton, thanks for being here. Please take it away.
Okay, well, I'd like to thank you, Colin, and certainly all the mayors. And many of you have met, and I hope the ones that I've not met yet, I will be meeting in due course shortly. Certainly, the community was hit hard. Our partner, who is owns, builds, and will operate our Mississippi vessel for Viking, is right there located in southern Louisiana. We are actually working with them to try to do more for the community. It probably is never enough, but we'll certainly try to do our best. And for anyone in that community who is impacted, certainly our heartfelt best wishes go out to everyone. In terms of Viking, I'll give a presentation. I'll queue up my presentation here, but again, thanks for the time and certainly look forward to meeting everyone in person. This is, I'll stay on here a couple minutes, but this is the vessel which is being built by our partners in Louisiana, Edison Schweston Company. They have been around for quite a while. They operate over the course of time, they have operated hundreds of vessels. I think this is their first passenger cruise vessel, but they have built many different type of vessels and operated for everyone from the, you know, oil companies to the U.S. Navy and otherwise. And they've been great partners, so we're very appreciative there. In terms of, I'll give you a quick, you know, just a quick part here on Viking. Let me see if I get my screen to move. One second here. Let me see if I need to reshare. Sorry. Can everyone see the screen? Hopefully.
Yes, we can.
Yep. So again, Viking, you know, we're about 80 vessels that we operate on the rivers and oceans. Viking has been around, and next year will be our 25th year in operation. We carry roughly next year, hopefully a normal year back to operations, over 600,000 customers per year across the globe. This is the first time Viking guests will be in next year, that Viking guests will be sailing on the Mississippi River and visiting many of your great towns and cities. I would say, you know, we opened for sale at probably the worst time you could think about, but we had the event, we had the opening plan, and we had to go through with it. But I wouldn't recommend to anyone opening sail for a travel company or a cruise line right in the middle of a pandemic. But that's what we did. The ship is being built and it's coming. And I would say, despite the pandemic, which is, you know, obviously a big event, you guys have been grappling with the issues for the last year and a half, and certainly, you know, tourism and cruising is probably not the most critical part of it, but at least, you know, in this, the cruise guests responded extremely well. The Viking guests responded. The demand was overwhelming to the point where, you know, we have open dates into 2024, and those are selling very well. So there's no doubt about the demand, you know, for Mississippi River cruising, and guests wanting to come and see the local communities that you're all a part of. As of today, we have over, and this is, I still think this is of today, but we have over 14,000 guests booked for the Mississippi itinerary. So again, it's been very robust sales. In terms of, you know, a little bit more about Viking, we operate in many different countries and cities. We have offices, actually sales offices in Los Angeles, Boston, as well as Tempe, Arizona. We have over 1,000 employees in the United States. We have actually more US corporate employees in the United States than anywhere else in the world. You know, of course, we have a lot of crew members for 80,000 vessels, which is scattered across. But you know, our customers are also primarily from the United States, and of course, we sell into Canada, we sell into Australia, New Zealand, and the UK. But for our guests, it's really about visiting a part of the country that many of them have heard about, have seen, and they want to experience the US. And certainly, I think it was Shelley that mentioned, you know, the pandemic. It's a horrible event, of course, and we should never hope that it happens again. But certainly, domestic travel has been, you know, probably a little bit more popular because of it. In terms of market sizing on where we are, and we go back to 2019, since that's really the year that we last operated fully. We have about half of our fleet, all of our ocean cruises back in operation, about half of our river fleet operating right now. But we're not quite back there, but we have been, you know, about 50% of the market share in North America for European and really river cruising overall. Viking, a little bit different in terms of marketing size and budget. We spend insane amount of money on marketing. We spend somewhere around $200 million per year. We market to a database of about 40 million Americans. They are really 50 plus, relatively well off, but not necessarily Bill Gates. I mean, these are unfortunately not inexpensive trips, but and we bring them. So that's you know, we consider ourselves a very good operating, ourselves a very good marketing company, and that's, you know, been a key part of our success. You know, when it comes to the cities, and I know we have a lot of different mayors here on the call today. We'll sail from New Orleans to St. Paul, and we'll visit many of the cities in between. Of course, we always look to add more cities in the future as we add vessels and as we grow the business. But you know, for us, this stretch in some of the places we visit, for us, that, you know, while we'll talk, and I'll show you some photos of the vessel being built by our partners in Louisiana, and it'll be a very nice vessel. It'll be, by all accounts, the most expensive vessel ever built for cruising on the Mississippi. And I'll be biased, but I also believe it to be true. You know, it'll be, well, certainly it'll be the most expensive vessel ever built. That's a fact. And you know, at least I will say, no offense to Mayor Klitsch and Shelley, it'll be the nicest vessel, but we'll have they'll have a different judgments on that. But in either case, you know, it's, despite the fact that this vessel is extremely expensive and otherwise, at the end of the day, for Viking, what really matters is the places we visit. It's the town and the communities. That's why any of our passengers is coming on these vessels. And you know, in past, I have said, you know, I was asked once at a panel of travel agents, you know, what's the best thing about river cruising? You know, and some of the other panelists said, well, it's the great food that we have on board. And another one says, oh, it's the great accommodations we have on board. To me, it's always about river cruising. It's about when you get off the boat. It's not about while you're on the boat. It's when you get off the boat. That's really what matters. That's the experiences that our guests want. Will we have a very nice ship? Absolutely. Will we have great food on board the ship? Absolutely. But it really means nothing without the communities that we visit. And that's why we look forward to, you know, to all of you, to really creating partnerships and experiences for our guests. And, you know, we'll talk about facilities that can really grow and expand Mississippi River cruising to really the level that it should be. You know, so that's really it in terms of this. I won't harp too much on some of the items, but we were asked to present our views on infrastructure and otherwise. You know, I think for Viking, I think we'll have 6 to 8 ships with our partners, and we're speaking with our partners now about building, owning, and operating more ships for us, and so that we can market and deliver a good guest experience. In terms of port infrastructure, again, it takes a community or a partnership to really have Mississippi River cruising, you know, really be all that it can be. And for us, everything, and we'll talk a little bit about COVID and safety, but it all comes back to, you know, our guests being able to get on and off the vessel. Again, I talked about the best experience for our guests is when they get off the vessel. We want them to get off the vessel in the best possible facility. It's the first impression is so important to the guests. We want them to get off the facility. We don't want them to have to worry about, you know, is it safe or not safe? We also, you know, want to be able to have, and you know, Mayor Klitsch mentioned, you know, inclusivity, and certainly facilities that everyone can use. You know, I think for everyone on this call, you know, Mayor Klitsch and Shelley, you know, we all want to build more vessels but we also all need to make sure that we have a place for those vessels to dock. So that's very important to have, be able to know that there is docking space and schedules and available. Utilities I think are important. Some of the ones that was mentioned, certainly water, trash services, electricity, maybe even internet. I think that's all. And of course, motor coach access. And most importantly, great experiences in all the places we visit. And there are so many things in all the communities that our guests just find or will find, absolutely amazing and enriching, and really learning that we just have to market it to them and have them dream a little bit about it and think about visiting these places, and then together we'll create great experiences. So that's it. In terms of health and safety in the communities we visit, I'll say this: Viking was the first cruise line to voluntarily suspend operations of any cruise line when COVID started, surfacing, and none of us really fully understood what was happening. But we were the first to say, well, we think there's something happening here. We're not sure. And we stopped our operations. Like everyone on this call, it's been costly. And of course, it's been costly to all the communities. COVID has had a huge impact, but it was the right thing to do. And the crew, the guests on board, the communities that we visit is always the most important part. It's always number one when it comes to everything that we do. So at Viking, we took the step of having many COVID protocols. So all of our crew members must be vaccinated. All of our guests must be vaccinated. And we have embarkation testing. So everyone that goes on board has to be tested. We actually have daily testing. And our chairman recently commented, I don't remember if it was on CNBC or CNN or which network it is, but Viking, we spend more today on testing than we do on fuel. And with our fully vaccinated crew, fully vaccinated staff, our very, very stringent testing protocols, we actually went to the expense, it's millions of dollars, of building full-scale PCR COVID testing facilities on our ocean ships. Of course, on an ocean ship, on our Mississippi ship, we probably won't need to incur that cost because there are many shoreside facilities where in port, but an ocean ship, which may be at sea for 2 or 3 days, you need to be able to test guests, immediately, quickly, and we believe with the most accurate, test available, which today is a PCR test. So we spend an inordinate amount on testing. We test daily today. Hopefully in the future, we don't have to test daily. But again, our medical team, and we have a former, I think, Admiral from the US Navy, Dr. Raquel Bono, who's helping us through and developing and working with all our partners and everywhere we visit. So, COVID was a huge impact. It's still having a huge impact. It's of course, the loss of lives is horrible. And we're just making sure that we do everything we can to prevent it. And, we have had guests sail on board and that have said, I feel safer on a Viking ship than I do, in my daily lives at home, knowing that every single person on the vessel is vaccinated. Every single person had a negative COVID test today. And that's where we were. In terms of other items, and I know we have US Coast Guard here, certainly vessel security beyond that is important. So, gangway entrances that are manned at all time will have certainly electronic key cards for guests to access. All vendors are pre-approved and only pre-approved and invited guests are on board. How we manage, supplies on board, and this is something that we have been doing for years. I mean, again, we operate vessels around the world. We operate in many areas where there's US Coast Guard. Our ocean ships are always in let's say behind secure facilities where security is an important part of the structure of just our entire DNA and how we operate. But again, we look forward to working closely with the Coast Guard everyone on this call and the regulatory bodies to make sure that when a Viking vessel does operate, it operates, with the safety and health of everyone on board and all the communities that we visit. In terms of, I will end with what I will say again. The least, and again, it's, we will end up, chartering and it will be an expensive charter, but at the end of the day, it's last and it's least because the community is really is number one. But these are some of our renderings. So this is the forward bow area. I think this will be, it'll be my favorite place, at least as we cruise down the Mississippi and we can see, just the wonderful vastness of the Mississippi and just really enjoy the river itself. I think this will be by far my favorite place to be. Just inside of this, and we'll see some photos, is our 2-story Explorer Lounge. So this is the inside looking out on that deck. This is sort of one of our iconic places that we have on our ocean cruises, which is a 2-story observation deck lounge. We call it the Explorer's Lounge. And again, this will be my second favorite place. I like being outside. But if the weather is a little bit inclement, then certainly this will be where you'll find me. We have our various stateroom. Again, all of our staterooms will either feature outdoor veranda, a private veranda, or a French balcony. But for the most part, our vessels will feature private verandas for all guests. Well, not for all, but if they don't have a balcony, that is French balcony. So again, it's very much in the Viking taste and design. If anyone has traveled on a Viking vessel before, seen any of our prior vessels, but of course, we try to update items as they go along. And this is the vessel being built in Houma, Louisiana. This was from August 19th. I can say that the hurricane did take Houma did take a direct hit, but the vessel itself really didn't sustain any damage. And and the crew, to the best of my in speaking to our partners, not the crew, but all the workers are fine. Not necessarily all their homes, unfortunately, but and we're working with our partners to do what we can in the community, certainly. But the vessel itself, sustained, I would say, almost zero damage, and it's being built and it's moving along. They've had some power shortages in the area, and that's certainly more impactful for the residents there than for Viking or the shipyard. But it's progressing really well, and we expect hopefully to welcome many of you, if not all of you, on board sometime next year. But that's it. I'll pass it back to Colin, and if anyone has any questions for any of us, we'll be glad to answer. But thank you all for your time and your partnership. Appreciate it from everyone at Viking.
Thank you, Milton. Appreciate it very much. Mayor Stang and I have had to move off camera. I don't know if you all can see this, but let me see if I can show you. We've actually had a storm come up here. There's a cold front sweeping over Missouri right now, and it's bringing some weather. Weather happens on borders. So as you can see, a storm is coming up. So we had to move a little bit so you guys could continue to hear us in the weather. We're going to go directly now to our Coast Guard, running a little bit behind time, a few minutes. So I'm going to, sorry. Mayor Stang has a gift for you. He sends a picture that he wanted you to see. Brant, can you cue that up for Mayor Stang? That's in a hat made by your granddaughter? Yep. Yeah. So that is, just so you know, Mayor Stang truly is a Viking. He comes by it honestly. Like to bring up Captain Mick Scott of the Upper Mississippi River Command for the U.S. Coast Guard. Captain Scott, thank you for joining us so much. And I'm sorry we're a little bit behind time.
Sure, no problem.
We hadn't heard from our friends in the cruise industry for a while, a year plus, for some of them over a year. So, and mayors were anxious to get an update on how the pandemic had impacted the industry and how they were, as Mayor Klipsch put it, roaring back in recovery. So, but we are anxious to get to you, and thank you for being patient with us, and thank you for sharing what our mayors should be thinking about and considering as they get their ports ready to bring all these people on. So thank you again, Captain. Please take it away.
All right, sure will. Thanks, Colin. And so this has run just a little bit long. That's okay. I feel like to be fair, kind of the kickoff remarks as well as the remarks from the industry executives has made my presentation easier. We're all talking the same language. We're all saying the same things. I'll share with just a little bit of a background. That I've been in the Coast Guard now for 27 years, and I've served in 10 different locations. There is no place that I've served where folks help one another, where folks lean on one another and collaborate the way they do, along the heartland, along the inland rivers. So earlier on, one of the very first comments from Mayor Stang was just talking about, you can do this. And Colin, you had talked about how Kimmswick is replicable. And it is. It absolutely is replicable. So what I'm going to do here, just in the interest of a little bit of time, and maybe we take some questions too. And I want to try to kind of stay at the wave tops a little bit, and perhaps take a couple of questions as well that might be applicable kind of across the board. And we can take the one-off specific stuff, offline, at a later date. We're happy to do that. What I'll say is that I'm glad that Admiral Timmy was not available to be a part of this. My staff talks quite a bit. We know that this industry is growing. We haven't really had the opportunity. We haven't had the forum, the venue to speak en masse. So the opportunity to get this quorum this evening is I feel like it's printing money for us. It and we don't get to make money, but the idea that we can help the industry, we can help these towns, whether they be bigger or small, and we can also speak to safety, in one conversation that's a win for us. I'll tell you that if we do have some questions, I've got two folks from my staff. Lieutenant Commander Steph Moore is my waterways chief, and she also oversees facilities. Chief Nate Dibley, who has done this for a number of years, is also on the call as well. So if we get some questions that might be just a little bit tricky, I will probably defer to them. To be fair, I've got a bit of information here. I would ask folks not too feverishly take notes. We've got a slide deck that I purposefully did not try to upload here this evening. I wanted kind of have a little bit more of a rich engagement or dialogue. We will pass this after the fact. It's not too much. It's about 8 slides, but it's got some reference to some best practices, some how-tos, and just maximizing the opportunity for folks to succeed. But I will tell you this, from what I heard from the cruise executives, it's spot on. It's spot on. So lean on them. They've clearly established best practice. They know how to help you succeed, and everybody gets to succeed when that happens. I don't expect the mayors to be an expert on developing, whether it's a MTSA regulated facility, which I'll speak to a little bit, or a public access facility, which I believe in most cases is what you're going to pursue. Don't expect you to be an expert in it. Heck, I've been in the Coast Guard 27 years. I'm not an expert in it, but I've got a staff that is, and the different sector commanders up and down the river system all have staffs similar to mine. And I'm going to speak just a little bit like a lawyer. I don't think I would find myself there very often, but I'm going to speak just a little bit like a lawyer and say that a lot of your circumstances, the questions, the answers to the questions you have start with, it depends, right? It really kind of depends. What exactly are you trying to do? What's the frequency? What's the proximity to other, port infrastructure there. So there's lots of questions that we're going to need to have answers to, but we're going to work with you. And there's checklists and job aids to kind of help you get there. And again, going back to one of the very first things I said, the city of Kimmswick, not a major metropolis, but in really just a couple of weeks, we were able to kind of partner with the local leadership and get them up to speed. So it can be replicated. That I have no doubt. I'll tell you that as a rule, 60 days would sure be nice. 60 days would sure be nice. Sometimes a little less, but I don't want to make too strong of assurances. Kimmswick was quite prepared, and we were able to get there on a little shorter timeline. So I'm going to jump into a couple of things here. And these are some specifics. Again, maybe scribble down a couple of notes. Maybe it'll generate some question, but again, the real detail we'll work with you one off, as we go through this. One, in most cases here, again, I don't believe we're talking about what's a maritime security or what you might hear as a 105 facility or a regulated facility. This is all post 9/11. We just remembered the 20-year anniversary of that just here a couple of days ago. But Marine Transportation Security Act of 2002, it sort of funneled out some regulations over the ensuing years, and that's where we've got to some pretty high standards that are met at a couple of our ports, generally connected to larger cities that are along the inland river system. And I'm going to just read some definitions here, but this will apply to facilities that receive vessels certificated to carry more than 150 passengers, except, and that's the key word, those vessels not carrying and not embarking or disembarking passengers at the facility. And I'm not talking about where you tie up for a couple hours and folks go out to have dinner and a drink and a walk in the park. I'm talking about, points of origin or debarkation. And there are some exemptions, but I think that by and large, these three industries anyway have done their due diligence, and understand kind of where they fall into, whether a 105 facility is a requirement, or if they have the option that I'm going to kind of speak to in a little bit more detail, which is a public access facility. But on a super high level, your basic requirements, if you want to establish an MTSA regulated facility, you're going to designate a facility security officer. Generally, that's a primary duty position. That's not something that someone does, kind of part-time and in the margins. That's generally a full-time payroll position. You're going to have to submit a facility security plan to the Coast Guard. Per the regulation, we need to have that approved 60 days before operations begin. And at last glance, I'll tell you that's about a 30-page application that is fairly onerous. Then you have to follow the security plan. You're going to be subject to regular Coast Guard facility inspections. These are all under the authorities and jurisdiction of the Coast Guard, kind of DHS's working arm in the maritime, and a requirement to report on security incidents. Again, not super largely applicable, I don't suspect, for most of the folks who are today's audience. again, it's not a choice. It's not an elective decision. If you're talking about a point of origin or a departure, in most any cases, we're going to be talking about a 105 facility versus a public access facility. So as I jump to public access facilities, I think it was extraordinarily well explained by the industry folks in terms of what a public access facility is. But it's an area kind of carved out for the public, primarily for recreational purposes. The quote earlier was you may have a vessel in for 20 days. Well, those other 345 days, Shelley, thanks for giving me that soundbite earlier on. It is a public facility, right? But at some point in the year, in this area, really kind of late spring through the early fall, you have the opportunity to generate a little revenue, both at the dock as well as once folks get off the vessel and go spend some time in your towns. So I won't get too into the details on there, but by and large, the requirements to meet the standard to be designated as a public access facility is a threshold that is quite well achievable. Again, we want to see 60 days, as well as some good cooperation, some good follow up. It's gonna cost you a little bit in terms of a capital investment in most cases, and I think that we've heard some of that from the mayor of Kimmswick right at the outset, right? And some of those are locally incurred, probably from the tax base. In other cases, there's grants and whether there's public-private venture, that type of thing. That's not for me to speak to, but there's different income streams that can kind of help you get there. The scenario that I'll read that my team put together for me here says, here's the scenario: a new passenger vessel service of U.S. flag vessels is starting operations, and as a mayor of an inland river city, you're interested in receiving port calls. What do you do? Well, the first thing you do is you contact the Coast Guard, right? That's the first thing that you do is you contact the Coast Guard. You verify the type of vessel that is going to call on your port, and you also understand the vessel's security status. These three lines here, I'm going to tell you, it checks out, right? But if you have others, you do your due diligence. We'll help you with that. You're going to complete the application process. You're going to formally submit it to the Coast Guard, and then you will receive a response that has been reviewed by my staff, signed by me. I will tell you that the vast majority of cases, we will approve your request on a timeline that is acceptable to you, so long as it's reasonable, and folks tend to be reasonable. But if we, my goal is to never disapprove your request. My goal is to tell you where you got to close the gaps between where you are and where you need to be, give you a work list, allow you to resubmit, and then we'll approve it. That's kind of the process. That's kind of the by design. We've got some job aids. Again, I spoke to that. It's going to be in the slide deck that I'll have sent to you. Some job aids, how to apply for a public access facility, and how to apply for a 105 for a MRCTI regulated facility if you feel that's the direction that you're going to go. So now's the part where I'm going to ask if there's any questions, and I'm also going to show you, heck, if you want to take a screenshot of this or something, you can to get ahead. But I've got numbers, phone numbers. I've got some email bang lists for every captain of the port zone that encompasses the Western Rivers and in fact throughout the 8th District, Coast Guard 8th District. So I think that's about the amount of time that I was trying to speak to. I wanted to save a little bit for questions. So Steph and Chief, if you're still on board, maybe now's the time that you get to earn some money for us. So I'll turn it back over, Colin. If you maybe want to moderate, I don't see any hands up, any of those little chat hands up. But if anybody has any questions, I'm gonna go silent so you can ask.
Mayor Nichols is asking a question. This is more for the cruise companies. What do the boats draw, assuming a boat pulls up parallel to our piers? the mayor's thinking about building a facility for cruise lines in Lake City, Minnesota.
So I can tell you, American Queen Steamboat Company, we draft less than 10 feet on the Mississippi River vessels.
For Viking, it's 9 feet. It's actually slightly less, but 9 feet is the water draft. Of course, you know, there are many factors which comes into building a vessel. One is the water draft. The second one would be, you know, certainly how much above the water is the, you know, the exit points, certainly where the exit point for the passengers also have an impact. But, you know, at Viking, we're always willing to partner and discuss. We have a engineering firm on staff, which is their job is to figure this stuff out. I'm not an engineer, but you know, so.
Yeah, again, here's where I say that it's clear the industry has done their homework. The Mississippi River is dredged to a 9-foot federal project's depth, you know, all the way to St. Paul. So.
Any other questions? You can raise your hand or feel free to put them in the question and answer section.
Grant, maybe I could just address that very quickly too. This is again, Frank Klitsch. The other question related to we can do the same thing, 9 or less, 9 feet or less, in some cases, 8 feet to 9 feet. But we can actually, because Milton mentioned, depending on where the docking is related to the water depth, our new boats are designed where you can embark and disembark at various levels so that we can handle that a little bit better. And the design gets under all the bridges. So whoever that mayor may want to contact any of us and we can give them more information. And we are partnering, ACL is partnering with a number of communities in building docking facilities. So if they're interested and it fits into our plans, we'd be happy to talk to them.
Thank you, sir. Colin, did you have anything you wanted to say?
Yeah, I'm getting a note here that indicates he may have left.
No, I'm
but-
here.
Okay.
I'm here. Sorry about that. It's just with the storm here, it's a little bit of an in and out service. But Captain, I did want to share with you, I think we shared with you yesterday too, a question that we get often is, and I think you just answered it with that contact sheet. If I'm a mayor or an emergency manager, public works director, or homeland security director for my town, and I need to make sure that we're equipped or doing what we need to be doing or supposed to be doing when all these people are coming to town, at sort of a new level of population. Who do I call with you guys? Is there a particular contact? And there are resources that you guys are able to help us get those.
Hey, Colin. So I just had the power go out at my house here for a quick second, and looks like we've got the same storm that you do. So I didn't catch the very beginning of your question, but what I think that I heard you say is, you know, out of respect for you know the security landscape, potentially new security regulations and provisions, who does either a local mayor or who does somebody contact in order to kind of ascertain a security posture in a township? Is that about correct?
Correct. Yeah. Who do we reach out with your team and
same audience? Reach out to my waterways staff. They work in close concert with our port security specialists. Our port security specialists do a lot of this same work with them, and I want to make this as easy as I can. And I believe that my captain of the port peers elsewhere are kind of viewing this the exact same way. So I want to give you one point of contact, and it's going to be on a bang list, so that way if one person's out, somebody else can take it. And I don't want to slow you up. I want to keep you moving.
That is fantastic and perfect. That'll be much appreciated. I do want to let our mayors know also that we are ready to work with Captain Scott and his team to offer additional webinars and offer additional meetings for mayors to hop on and so that they can get to the resources they need with the Coast Guard and get their ports operating appropriately. Sorry about your power, Captain. I
Yeah,
think
well, that's what happens periodically.
getting the same
but,
storm.
It sure is. But hey, if there's nothing further for us, again, I do, Colin. I appreciate you reaching out to us. I appreciate you giving us the opportunity to have an audience that it allows us all to benefit from safe, profitable kind of economic benefit across the Captain of the Port zone, and that's we can't ask for more than that. So thank you.
Thank you, Captain, and thank you to your team for all your service. Want to say thank you to our representatives, Bill, Mayor Klipsch, and Shelley, for being with us, Dr. Applegate. And I'm sorry we went over a little bit this evening, everybody. Everyone had a lot to share. It was very good information. And we look forward to continuing this and making sure that what we can do is equip our cities with what they need, what our mayors need to take full advantage of this economic development opportunity like it has been here in Kimmswick, but also elsewhere. Up next is tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. 9 a.m. We will be seeing you hopefully for our discussion on the Resilience Revolving Loan Fund. And we're looking forward to that. And of course, immediately following that is our mayor's press conference, some exciting announcements and unveiling of some new initiatives. So thank you, everyone. We hope to see you soon. And good evening and good night from Kimmswick. See you tomorrow.
I believe Shelley raised her hand.
Oh, I'm sorry, Shelley. Didn't see that.
No, that's okay. I just wanted to say congratulations to Milton and Frank. The melody and the new Viking ship are absolutely stunning. So congratulations on those. And Milton, please pass our good thoughts along to all of the people in Houma.
Thank you, Shelley.
Thank you, Shelley. I appreciate that as well. Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a great evening.